Hello. Welcome to part 2 of our boat tour. Today I'm going to tell you a little bit about our Amel Mango, hull number 72, built in La Rochelle, France in 1988. But first it's over to Kathy to tell you a bit more about the designer of our boat, Mr Henri Amel.
Henri Amel was born in France in 1913. He was fascinated by sailing from a very young age. In his late teens, he began sailing on small yachts and then started to build them. Sadly, World War II came along and Henri was called up to fight in the war. Tragically, a war injury led to Henri being almost blind, but he never gave up his dream of building yachts. During World War II, Henri had noticed that the floating caissons used by invading Allied naval forces in Normandy, France, relied on polyester resin construction, which he would ultimately adopt in the construction of his boats. What are caissons, I hear you ask? Well, they are watertight box-like structures that can be used for floating harbours. In 1944, prefabricated concrete caissons up to 60 meters long and 20 meters deep were towed from England to France to create floating docks for the landing of troops in Normandy. Trucks could actually drive over these from ship to shore. Henri Amel took over a failing shipyard and built his first boat. The boat was a success, but the business failed. He then used someone else's shipyard to build his boats. Finally, in 1965, he built his own shipyard. By this stage, he was 52 years old. And let's remember, he was almost blind. You'd think he deserved a bit of good luck from this point on, but no. In 1968, a fire burnt his new shipyard to the ground. Undaunted, Mr Amel rebuilt his shipyard, and it was a success by 1973, with Henri now 60 years old. Amel boats went on to become the Rolls-Royce of production yachts, and Henri carried on designing and building yachts until he was 90 years old. When he died in 2005, he left his business to his employees, who continue the tradition of excellence that Henri Amel started. I personally find Henri Amel's story very inspiring. I'm 55 years old. Daryl is 62. Sometimes we feel that perhaps the best years of our lives have passed. And yet, at my age, Henri Amel was only just starting out and taking risks in business and developing his skills and creativity. Blindness and fires didn't stop him. It's a good reminder to us to live with anticipation and to keep learning new things and to try and stay physically and mentally fit and active. If we're blessed with lives as long as Henri's, then now we're only at the halfway point. Amel yachts are iconic and easily recognized by their shape, by their ketch design, and by features such as the hard top, the offset wheel, and the armchair helmsman's seat, as well as the molded-in fake teak decks. Amel has been a pioneer in polyester construction, using their own glass fiber. An important construction feature is that internal bulkheads, deck and hull are made in one single piece, forming a perfectly waterproof and highly resistant structure. One feature we really like is the solid stainless guardrails around the side. This would have been important to Henri because he was blind. Similarly, the sturdiness and sheer number of handholds makes us feel safe. There are only 3 sturdy steps up to the cockpit in the companionway. I can't tell you how many times we go up and down those steps each day. It's great that you can easily hold on and walk straight down them. You don't have to turn round and go down steps that are like a ladder. Since we have most of our meals on deck, this makes it much easier to carry bowls of food and cups of tea. Our Amel Mango is just under 16 meters long, and the beam or width is 4.3 meters. Our draft is 2.05 meters, and she weighs about 20 tons empty. We have a 6-ton cast iron medium keel and a skeg-hung rudder. With this weight, we will never be fast, but she is sturdy. Her shape, with a fairly narrow beam, makes her very sea-kindly. She cuts through waves like a hot knife through butter. This makes sailing more comfortable and safe.
We still have the original Perkins 80 horsepower engine with 5,000 hours on it. This is the Hertz gearbox with the shaft drive over here going to the propeller. During sailing, the water generator or alternator on the engine shaft, which is this one over here, can be switched on. This uses the power of the propeller spinning in the water to top up the house batteries on the boat. This gadget over here, you see it spins. Wires, and that goes to the batteries.
This is one way we generate electricity. Another way would be when the engine is switched on if there's no wind. We have 2 more alternators, one for the starter batteries and one for the house batteries, thruster batteries and furler batteries.
Here are the alternators, 1 and 2 with fan belts and stuff. These are the house batteries. There are 5 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 100 amp hours each. And the engine battery, I'll show you the engine battery too. These are the 2 starter batteries. Here in the forepeak is where we keep the Bowthruster batteries. There we go, that's one of them. A battery here and one over here. And they operate the windlass, the furling and the Bowthruster. We also have 3 solar panels over there. 2, 2 and one over here. We find that this is usually enough for us. Though if we're at anchor for any length of time, then we might need to run our generator for an hour in the evening. We have a Kohler 4 kilowatt generator, this baby. Very occasionally we'll find ourselves in the marina and then we plug into shore power. Hi, I'm going to make 2 pina coladas.
So, we have both 12 volt and 220 volt electrical systems on our boat. Usually we get by on 12 volts living at anchor. But if we need to use a blender to make a pina colada or perhaps charge a laptop or print a document, then we will either plug into the inverter or switch on the generator. We can only use the washing machine or the microwave by switching on the generator, unless of course we have shore power.
It was pineapple.
Very refreshing. As mentioned already, our boat is Ketch-rigged. It has 2 masts, the main mast and the Mizzen mast. In other words, instead of one really big mainsail, we have two slightly smaller sails, which makes the boat easier to handle. All our sails have in-mast furling. This means you don't need to leave the cockpit to hoist the sails. You just press a button or turn a winch. Not only are we novice sailors, but we are older novice sailors. For us, this is a much safer option that requires less heavy lifting. Not much wind today.
I'm going to show you everything that is outside the boat, in the cockpit area. I'll just start with just generally what you're seeing here. This is the Mizzen mast, the second mast, on the one in the back of the boat. On the mast there is various winches. Now they will control different sails aft and forward as well. This little sprocket here, sprocket is connection there, that one there, that's to get the mizzen mast out, that with this one over here. So you do a kind of coordinated swing. There's a little pin over here that prevents it from unwinding. So when you're done with the sail, you put the pin in, so you take the pressure off the furling mechanism. So if I just wiggle it, pull the pin out, and I store the pin in the next little hole like that. And then if you look around this area here, I'll just do a little bit of a wind. And this action. You want to bring it out nice and easy. Take up the tension here. There's a storage over here for these two crank handles. Then we have the two main big winches, big daddies. This is for the Genoa, and you can see the size of the rope, the sheet. It's like, I think it's thicker than my thumb. That pulls out the Genoa, one rope on the other side. And then with that goes an electric furler over here. These two, so you'll see that one is to roll it in, this one to roll it out. If I want it out, Kathy will operate that over there, and I will pick up the slack first by hand. Like that, I'll be pulling like this, pulling it, and then when it gets too heavy, which is like very quickly because it's a very big sail, I'll put it in, lock it in there, and then I'll start winding.
Our Amel stainless steel standing rigging was redone in 2015. On top there are rolling terminals, and on deck we have cone Acmo Norseman fittings. We have poles for poling out the headsail when sailing downwind, but we still need to learn how to use these. We also have various other sails and fittings too, storm sails, staysails, Genoa, and one of our priorities is to learn how to use all of these sails. We have 13 big winches all around the boat.
And then I'll start winding. It's like a fast way and a slow way.
Our electric windlass is a 1500 watt Lofrans Tigre 500. We have a 55 kilogram Rocna anchor with 100 meters of 10mm gauge Lofrans Grade 40 chain. We also have a couple of spare anchors. Can you see the water hose on the front? It brings fresh seawater up and uses it to spray onto the chain to clean it of any mud or seaweed or other debris as the chain comes onto the boat. The new windlass, anchor and chain, the standing rigging and other replacements and improvements done before we bought our boat have all been done to an exceptionally high standard. We are so grateful to the previous owners, Udo and Gudrun, who took such good care of Disa before we bought her. In recent months, we have begun our own program of replacement and improvement, starting with the navigation equipment. We've put in a full Raymarine electronics package with NMEA 2000 cabling. This includes an Axiom 12 Pro multifunction display or chart plotter, Quantum 24D Doppler 18-inch radar, 3 new i70S multifunction displays, 2 for the cockpit and 1 for the nav desk, to show speed, depth, wind strength and direction, and position. We've also bought new transducers for wind and depth. We've installed an AIS that we found in a cupboard on the boat, an Evolution autopilot with P70S control head and AccuFour EV1 sensor core, and finally a Ray 73 VHF radio with integrated GPS and AIS receiver.
There we go. That goes over there. Here's the third unit for reading speed, depth and wind. The reason we have this one inside is if we anchored, and then I can, and you know, when the wind comes up, I can check what the wind speed is. I don't have to go outside and switch everything on there. This is a control panel, like a sub board, voltmeter, ammeter, and these are the various pieces of equipment. This is the Navtex, that's the GPS, and I think the thing that gets used the most is the radio. CD player over here, playing Mercy Mercy Me. Over here, rev counter, heat, hours, engine hours, temperature, oil pressure. So we've been using all the time. It's the a tablet with Navionics on it. So we've got that now over there, but we're just using both of them as we change over. This is the dependable compass. Doesn't need any batteries or anything like that. That's what the chart looks like. Let's just do a, that's Gibraltar over there. This is where we are, come from that direction. This over here is the Bowthruster. So you'll see a picture of the bow, an arrow and an arrow. Your port and your starboard is the on switch. Light will go on, and you move the joystick across this way or that way, depending which direction you want to go. The thruster unit is over here. I press this button when it's switched on, down, and the thruster drops down from the bow propeller, and then I am able to control it over here left or right. When I'm done, I up switch and it retracts. And this baby here is the accelerator pedal. Forward for forward and back for backwards. It's automatic clutch, so the center would be idle, and as you press it forward, the revs pick up. This panel over here, that's an on switch for the water. So this water runs over the anchor. As soon as we start lifting the anchor, we have some clean salt water rinsing the dirt off, like the mud and grass and things like that. Over here is the remote for the anchor, so we can drop the anchor from the cockpit. Don't need anybody up front. Just press the joystick forward, pull it back, whichever way you want to go, up or down. These switches over here, they control the furling. This is for the Genoa. You can see the way the arrows point. That would be in, pulling it in, and the arrow out would be for bringing it out, with the winch over there pulling it and grinding. This is the mainsail. The mainsail has an in and out motor and an in and out furling. This little goodie over here is like a tilt meter. So when you're heeling over, it will swing and you can see the degrees. This over here controls the traveller, and it's all from the cockpit. Depending which way the wind's coming, which way I want the boom to go, I would put that in the opposite direction. So I would, let me see, everything's tightened up here now, so I have to loosen the vane, the jibe, I have to loosen this here, and then we go, you can see it turning over there.
The Mainsheet Traveller allows you to securely position the mainsail in the best place to catch the wind. Very important for navigation at night is having all the correct lighting. We have our white stern, red port and green starboard lights, deck light, steaming light, tricolor for the top of the mast, and anchor light.
Hello! These lockers are deep. This is one of the most important things on the boat. It's our life raft.
Our life raft was serviced quite recently and we were delighted to discover that it is still in tip-top condition. This is Tom. Tom is working for
Iron and Marine Safety.
We watched Tom as he did a really good job of servicing our life raft, and we wanted to learn what was inside it. How do you operate it? What are the latest requirements? The specification is the ISO 9650. Can you explain to us what that means?
So 9650 is the specification. After that it's either -1 or -2. -2 is normally a coastal life raft. So here it says 9650-1.
Right.
It's a -1, it's an offshore life raft.
Great.
If it was a -2, it would be a coastal life raft, which means it doesn't have a canopy a lot of the time. That you can have a less than 24-hour pack. Every brand have their own pack in it.
Right.
So Bombard has a different pack than Sea Air or Seago or...
Okay.
So it's either less than 24 hours or more than 24 hours. And then you've got Greek packs, you've got Italian packs, you've got all that sort of stuff.
The Italian ones have spaghetti in. One day we'll do a complete episode about our life raft, the servicing of it, what's inside it, what else we carry in our grab bag. But for today, here's a quick glimpse.
There's a list of things over there. More storage. So here are other bits and pieces of the covering. This is a awning, a shade awning that goes over the boom. One on either side. Some waterproof plastics. And then a gas supply. All of them are full. We have 8 gas cylinders, and that's for the cooking gas. A table. The dinner table. Of paint in there, and this over here is the passerelle. Falls out, goes on top of that swimming ladder, and so you walk off the boat onto the jetty. So let's set up the table for you.
also have a small table that we can use just for the two of us.
Underneath the seat we have a shower, hot and cold shower. There you go. Hot and cold, by the way. The tap's over there, so you just switch it on and there's a lever over here. There you go. There you go. And this is the captain's seat, padded and with a nice little arch. You put your wheels over, you sit over here and you sit next to it. Something that was quite great. This is the Eberspacher heater which we used in winter. Runs off diesel. Each storage locker's got a catch on. You always want that closed. Waterproofing your these types. That holds it. Don't let it fall on your fingers. So these are like buckets for washing. This bucket is for scooping salt water. Hold it on the end there and I drop it in the ocean and I just scoop a bucket of salt water for cleaning of something. Here's an extra float to mark the anchor. There are various ropes, all extra ropes. Petrol can, a spare petrol can, empty. And then this locker over here, this is the dinghy's little lock. So this is the petrol supply for the dinghy. It's connected to the engine. I'm carrying 25 liters of petrol. This is a pump for the dinghy.
We have really enjoyed taking you on a tour of our boat, and we hope that you have enjoyed coming along with us. Making these videos takes many hours of work. If you have found this video entertaining or informative, we would really appreciate it if you would subscribe to our channel. This costs you nothing, and it helps us get closer to our target of 1,000 subscribers. When we reach this target, together with viewing hours, then YouTube will give us a tiny percentage of advertising revenue, which will help us keep sailing for longer. Please share our videos on your Instagram or Facebook pages. Click on the thumbs up like button and write us a comment below. All of this helps to raise the profile of our tiny channel on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching till the end, and we look forward to seeing you next time.